Welcome to another Atchman Kings of War Battle Report. Tournament practice. Salamanders versus the Kingdoms of Men. 2,300 points, and the scenario was INVADE. So I've decided to take the Samuel Nordberg list from the Dash 28 article to my first tournament with them. And this is what I call Variant 2. Variant 1 is basically my standard list with a unit of Fanatics. And this one is Variant 2. And the reason this is Variant 2 is I stripped all the magic items and Indomitable Will out of the army and just did the put the Crystal Pendant of Retribution. This is really mostly to mess with my friend Craig, who has used that thing on me so many times to kick my butt. So anyway, what I've done is I've just added that to the list. So we have the same 4 regiments of pikemen, 3 troops of Fanatics, and the change here, which is a regiment of Fanatics, 2 hordes of foot guard, and 3 generals on winged beast, a hero on a Pegasus with Indomitable Will and the Crystal Pendant of Retribution, an ASB with loot, and a hero on a horse. He also has Indomitable Will. As you can see, the infantry component of this list stretches nearly all the way across the table. And normally it's actually deployed this way. Sometimes, I would deploy infantry in depth, but with the pikemen in the front, and they hold so well that I really don't need to put something behind them. So my in-depth actually becomes all of the flyers, and they become my reserve and also my primary means of attack and defense. So when I first started playing the Samuel Nordberg list, I lost the first 2 games, and mostly it's because I didn't know how to deploy it. Well, now I've kind of got it to a formula. Usually, depending on how the other army is, how wide it is, what I'll do is I'll load both of my foot guard hordes out on a flank, and along with 2 of the flyers, and sometimes with the hero as well. And that's pretty overwhelming force to deal with. And then on the other end is more of a protective side, and I use the table edge to even secure that even more. And then over there, I'll usually put a couple of the flyers, and now I've got that unit of Fanatics to put in there to add a little punch on that side. So once they get kind of stuck into all those pikemen, I have the ability to come out and flank them. And one of the things I learned from playing Ben Bowers the first time was to separate the 3 griffins. And the reason why is because as soon as he starts to turn to avoid one, that opens the flank for the other. And it is really, really hard to stop once they get into that perfect position. So let's go on to deployment. Let's see, because I have down here on this end, I put one of the first general on winged beast. And that right there is just a hero on a horse. I really like him for my anti-chaff roll. Sometimes I'll just charge him into chaffiness because I don't carry 60 points. And then the 2 hordes of foot guard, I call them great swords and Tutigan guard, but that's just my name for them. And behind them, I put the a general on winged beast. And the reason why is because I don't have any inspiring on this end of the line. So I put him there early in the game. I didn't know if Craig had shooting or not, so I just didn't want to take a chance. And then there's the standard checkerboard of pikemen and Fanatics all the way down the table. And when I set up, I deployed, leaving 4 inches on that end of the table to put the Fanatics, wait to see what Craig was going to do, or 4 inches on this end when I first started. And that way I could put the Fanatics where I needed them. As you'll see, Craig's army's kind of checkerboarded as well. He has a unit of geckos, and behind them is his first unit of tyrants. And then he has a whole horde of Salamander primes, and then I think those are Eternals, the ones that are armor 6 and have Inspire, and then another unit of those Salamander primes. Same thing with some more geckos in front of him. And then he has a gecko horde, or legion, I'm sorry, not a horde, and it has the hammer of measured force, and it has surprised a couple of us at times with how punchy it is. And then on the very end, he has yet another unit of geckos behind, with a unit of tyrants behind them. He has Artacle somewhere. It's hard to see him because he's a little bitty guy in the middle of all those big guys. I think he's over there with those last unit of Eternal Guard or whatever they're called. And then the Phoenix is right in the middle to give healing and fireball support if necessary. So tough infantry line. The only thing I don't really like about it is that it doesn't have very much flank security. And with me, with so much fast-moving stuff, it's not going to be that hard to get around the end on either end. So maybe the idea could have been to deploy more to one side of the table. I don't know what the best thing was. So turn one for me is pretty much just moving everybody 5 inches, and I could have moved them 10 to start, but I had deployed that one unit on the wall, and I wanted to kind of stay in line because getting closer to those tyrants anytime soon is not my idea of fun. And so what I did though with the heroes is on this close end, I sent one General Wing Beast around the swamp to kind of get an angle on the flank of his line. I sent the hero on a horse forward, and my goal there is to jam him. I usually charge him early in the game just to try to hold somebody back and disjoint their advance, because I find that really does affect somebody when they're like, why the hell is he doing that? And then they have to react to try to figure out how to get around them. The other General on Wing Beast, I was going to do something with it, and I decided just to hold it in place. Back to the same thing. It's like if you turn to face this one on this side, he could probably get you on the other side. So that's pretty nasty. On the far end, the Pegasus moved forward with his improved explosive device ready to detonate it in the midst of the Salamander line. And then the other General on Wing Beast angled along with the Fanatics. And what I should have done, honestly, was to probably shift it down just a little bit more, because the obstacle there, it pinches the table, and I should have been able to do it. So what I ended up doing later on, you'll see that. I mean, I got away with it, but I could have done a better job with the positioning of the Fanatics and stuff. So on this end of the table, Craig just moved everything forward pretty much the same. He angled some of his guys in the back just in case I decided to do a jump to the back of his lines. Our Taco moved forward and shot the Pegasus down for 3 wounds. And my thought right here was bad, because I was afraid he was going to panic it off the table before I got a chance to detonate the crystal pendant of retribution. So that I had to do something with it on the next turn, which it seemed stupid. But I was really hoping to use it for something better. But I thought if I didn't use it now, our Taco would take him out before he got a chance to use it. And you can see his army move forward. The legion of geckos is sitting there in the woods in front of me, facing my line of the I Corps, all of their pikemen and spearmen ready to deflect the salamander hordes. I don't know if my eyes are blurry this morning, or maybe I did just take a whole bunch of blurry pictures last night. I'm really going to have to turn on the flash. I think I'm just not getting enough flash in these pictures in Craig's dining room, because we only have one light in there. And so while it looks okay on the table, it could probably use some help with a little bit of flash here. You can see his tyrants angled towards my General on Wing Beast. The unit of geckos moved forward to tempt the hero on a horse, and everything else just kind of moved online. There was really no reason for him to do anything but what he did here. So you can see my strategy here. Instantly, I charged the unit of geckos, and the reason why is because I figured he would charge me with something else, and I thought it might block his army up. I know there's no way I was going to tempt him into a flank charge with those Salamander primes. If he did, this game would have been over on turn 1. So I was hoping to tempt him into something. The General on Wing Beast over here just moved and angled some more. I'm trying to be patient, because sometimes I want to jump him all the way to the back and start turning instantly, but that's not really a good strategy. You really want him in position on turn 3 or 4, not really on turn 1. I mean, it's nice if somebody just lets you get him back there early in the game, but smart opponents won't. The one in the middle, I moved up over the top of the infantry, and the reason why is the same thing. You see now, he's turned to face this General on Wing Beast, and now the other one is staring at the flank of his tyrants. So I've kind of got him in a rock and a hard place right here with that unit of tyrants out there on the flank. And then of course, the hero is there keeping his little unit of geckos from messing with me anymore. Over on the far flank, I did the same thing. I moved the General on Wing Beast over, jumped it over the obstacle there, and now I'm facing down the flank of that unit of tyrants. I went ahead and charged the Pegasus into the tyrants, and the reason why is because I was on 3 wounds, and I didn't think I could survive another round of shooting from our Tackle and potentially the Phoenix as well. So I went ahead and charged in there, and I was just going to do the best I could to savage that unit of tyrants. Because the geckos aren't wider than the tyrants, I was able to get the Pegasus hero into the unit of tyrants. I did 1 wound on the charge, which is kind of figured what I would do, and was just ready for him to slaughter me on the next turn. And you see what the position is here is that now he can charge that guy in the flank, which makes it even better for me, which is, I know it's so mean. But we were playing with closed list this game. In a tournament, I wouldn't have surprised anybody. But I was doing this to have fun with my friend. I don't know if this level of commentary is helping any players or not, but you can see where my strategy is. Do you see the General on Winged Beast now? He is staring down the flank of that tyrant unit. There's one in the front, and tyrants are really good, but they usually will not survive a charge from a General on Winged Beast into their flank. And normally my General on Winged Beast would have either Mace of Crushing or Blade of Slashing to try to make sure that extra wound sticks. So, I mean, they'll do 9 to 10 wounds in almost any unit. Even if they turn around, as you can see, like if just one of them made it in, the other one would kill him on the next turn. So I'm in a really good position right now. The tyrants have to figure out what they need to do to save themselves. This took a few minutes to kind of figure out what Craig wanted to do with his tyrants because, like I said, they were not in a good position. And so what he ended up doing was charging and killing my hero on a horse. And then the geckos went ahead and overran. So that would protect the tyrants from being charged by the Tüdingen Guard there, or Foot Guard as they're more normally known as. And I still have a flank charge on the tyrants, but now I would have to be hindered going into that swamp. So I think that was the best solution to what to do with the tyrants this turn. And you can see the Salamander Primes did angle because I did have a flank charge into them with the General on Winged Beast. And again, the same problem happens because the other one is looking down their flank from this side as well. Yeah, the tyrants did have a flank charge on the Pegasus, in which I just cackled about, because I know what was going to happen next. The units of geckos moved forward and did some angling to try to help out their guys, and that's just to kind of reduce the fact that I could triple or quadruple charge that gecko legion in the middle. I'm going to get 2 charges into them regardless, with 1 unit of pikes and 1 unit of fanatics, so that's good to go. And anyway, I did get a kick. I don't think we rolled that high for damage on the tyrants, but the fact that they blew up there and then they can't overrun, so now their flank is hanging in the wind to this unit of fanatics. If you see down here on the bottom left-hand corner, that unit of fanatics rolled 3 on their wild charge, so they're going to get a flank charge into those tyrants on the next turn. So yeah, the tyrants are stranded now because of the thing exploding. And what I did was I backed up the pikemen here on the very far left, and that gave me enough clearance to pivot the fanatics into the flank of the tyrants. And so those tyrants are going to probably not like this at all. The fanatics here charged, the fanatics next to them charged into the unit of geckos to get rid of them. In the middle here, another unit of fanatics charged into the geckos, and instead of moving both of them online, I just went ahead and angled the pikemen there so that maybe they could catch a flank charge if somebody charged into the other pikemen. So I think that was a good plan. I sent both units into a unit of pikemen and a unit of fanatics into the legion of geckos, and I think the geckos would have been better served to stay in the woods, but coming out like that, I mean, they have no advantage over my guys because they wound on 4s, so they're wounding even my fanatics on 4s, so and my armor's 4, so they really have no competitive advantage over those units. And the fact now that they need 6s to hit the pikemen was probably a pretty bad thing. The rest of the troops just moved up. I'm like a 1/4 inch outside of Craig's charge range for the Salamander Primes. I'm not scared of the Salamander Primes. I just want to get them I want to take some time, though, to position my Generals on Winged Beast to help take advantage of those particular troops. So down here, I went ahead and charged the Tüdingen Guard / Foot Guard into the geckos, and there's a reason why. It's because you see the edge of his base of his tyrants, he's going to have to go through that swamp just a little bit to so he'll be hindered, and that's what I want. But I don't want to. And I kept the other unit in place so I don't have to slide to get him out of that problem he's going to have. And so this is just a positioning thing. You kind of learn it as you've played a while. I mean, it makes common sense that unit could turn and avoid that swamp, but they can't. I mean, the way these rules work is you can't go around terrain to avoid it, even though you have plenty of movement. The general on Winged Beast on the right, the white one, he's moved up, he's angled, he can charge now the tyrants in the rear or the other unit of Salamander Primes in the flank. And the one in the middle, I decided I really couldn't figure out a good place for him, and I kind of regretted moving him in a way because he is the inspiring for this whole flank over here. And so what I decided to do, though, was jump him, and that way I could be behind that horde of Salamander Primes that's facing my line over there, and just to cause all sorts of trouble. But I'm in a really good position with support from the generals on Winged Beast, so that they have a good target. Even if they don't take it, the whole point is that they influence things, and you have to address it. I mean, if you just ignore them, you're gonna get slaughtered by them. So yeah, the Fanatics did grievous damage to the Tyrants and wiped them out. So now they're facing down the Phoenix and the elite Salamander infantry there. The Pikemen and the Fanatics just did amazing damage. They did 12 points of damage to that Legion. And while that's not enough to mess with the Legion, that takes a big damn chunk out of them, I have to admit. And then the Fanatics here that charged the unit of Geckos, they slaughtered them, and then they backed up. And I'm just trying to entice Craig into a charge with his Salamander Primes so I could flank him with that unit of pikemen. So my foot guard did slaughter the unit of Geckos, and they just stayed in place so that he would have to charge through the swamp and become hindered on the way in. So, I mean, they have a damn good chance. The Tyrants at full strength should at least waver a unit of foot guard on the charge, if not kill them. And I didn't have Indomitable Will on them this time, and so that really got me gun shy about those guys. And normally I would just take the charge and then slaughter them on the next turn and just take the hit. But in this case, I've kind of messed up with the Inspire is on the other side of the table, and I don't have Indomitable Will on these two units. And that's normally I can leave them by themselves just because they don't need an ASB near them. The other unit of Craig's Salamanders, they just angled again. The elite guys, they angled toward the General on Winged Beast, and he angled just right so that I couldn't charge that unit in the flank, because I would have definitely charged that Salamander Prime unit in the flank and in the rear at the same time, but or just in the rear. But the way he angled, I just couldn't only get one in there, and I know for a fact I can't take them in one go. But, I mean, I know I could hurt the hell out of them in one go. That's the big thing. Over here, the Phoenix moved into position to block me from charging away around, because he's high, actually has a higher height than my generals on Winged Beast. And so he moves in position to take a charge and protect the flank of his guys. The elite Salamander guys, they went ahead and charged into the Fanatics. The Legion countercharged into the pikemen, I think, and that lets the unit of Salamander Primes charge into my unit of Fanatics right there. And, of course, they'll probably butcher them, and then we'll have to see what happens at turn after that. But lots of activity on this side. I'm pretty sure our Tackle and the Phoenix wavered the General on Winged Beast over there. I think he was up to 8 from shooting. And our Tackle is a very effective shooter, though short-ranged, but he managed to waver that guy, because otherwise I would have just charged into something next turn, because of I would at least had to charge the Phoenix and keep it from doing any shooting or spell casting. So the Tyrants did charge into the foot guard and rolled about an average number of hits, which is 10, but then just rolled like 6 ones or 5 or 6 ones, some ridiculous amount of ones, and didn't do that much damage to them. And so that's not going to be a good thing for those Tyrants. Because their armor, they have a lot of attacks and stuff, but they're kind of a glass hammer. So we'll have to see what happens to them on the next turn. So over on this flank, of course the General Wing Beast is wavered. The Fanatics had taken I think 7 points of damage, but passed their test, and so they're able to whack on people next turn. The stupid Skink Legion Gecko Legion managed to waver the Indomitables, my favorite unit of pikemen, and so they're standing there doing nothing this turn. The Salamander Primes did beat the Fanatics, and now they're angled. So they thought maybe that the lesser two evils was to take the pikemen in the flank versus taking. At the point where it was, they would have taken the General Wing Beast in the rear. So it's better to take them both in the flanks than it is to try to handle a rear charge from those things, and then a massive front charge from the other stuff. So this is going to be what you would call an unfortunate turn for the Salamanders. Over on the left flank, a unit of Fanatics had managed to charge into the flank of the Legion of Geckos, and they wavered them. I mean, they take an assload damage. I rolled really low on the attack, but on the other hand, the guys in the front of them were wavered, and they couldn't attack her. I think the 15 attacks from the pikemen would have killed them. Right in the middle, he turned to let the Griffin hit him in the flank instead of the rear. But that allowed me a massive charge. He even asked me, are you rolling too many dice? Well, the pikemen have 30 swings into the flank. And then there's 15 more in the front. There's 45 swings. And then how many more is it? 59, 61, 71 swings I took at that unit this turn with all the massive charges I had going on. So anyway, I didn't even kill them. I wavered them, but they were in deep, deep trouble just because of that. The same thing with the Gecko Legion. They were in big, big trouble too. The unit on the hill to support my guys, they went down to take on the Salamander Primes, which I felt I could handle. I can't say I would beat them, but I mean, I at least could hold them in place until something else could come to the rescue. So I wanted to make sure that the tyrants didn't live through the turn, because they would have probably beaten my unit next turn since they wouldn't be hindered anymore. So I went ahead and did charge the General on Winged Beast into the rear of them and slaughtered them along with, I didn't even have to roll the foot guard in the front. And then I just turned the General on Winged Beast around to face the unit of Salamander Primes, because it's just a matter of time that I'll either jump them and bring the other unit in to help them or whatever. But the Salamanders are in big time trouble right here. So at this point, we just called the game. There was no way that he was going to recover, because the Gecko Legion was going to die next turn because they couldn't swing back. The Salamander Primes here were going to die next turn because they couldn't swing back. And even if he got his Salamander Primes into my foot guard there, I had another unit of foot guard and a General on Winged Beast to come to their aid. And basically, the reason why we called it is because I had wiped out all the unit strength. And you can see right here in just this one picture, there's, good God, that's a lot of unit strength right there by itself. 8, 9, 12, 13 right there in that one picture. That doesn't even count what's still left on the other side of the table. And pretty much most of my army is already on his side of the table, so there's really nothing could be gained by playing another turn. I hope you enjoyed my strategy points during the battle. I hope they weren't too boring, but I was just trying to let you see what I was thinking at the time and why I do what I was doing. As far as my army, it played, I couldn't ask for it to play any better. It played exactly like it's supposed to play. And I think, though, I am going to go back to the non-variant version, which is without the Crystal Gem of Retribution. I mean, that was just a fun trick to play for one game. But I'm probably going to go back to putting the Indomitable Will on the foot guard again. And the reason why is because, like I said, I leave them a lot of times. That means there's no Inspire, and that could be bad for them. So having Indomitable Will on them lets me feel a little bit safer by just abandoning them. So I'll probably do that. The only addition to my 2150 list, if you've been seeing me play it, is I'll add a Regiment of Fanatics, which is 145 points, and then I will put the Healing Brew on that Regiment of Fanatics, just in case somebody shoots them with a missile. I could get rid of it. I had 5 points. I don't know what else to do with it. What happens also at back to 2300 is one of my General on Wing Beast ends up with the Trickster's Wand to help me against pesky magic users, and then the other General Wing Beast, one of them has the slashing and one of them has crushing. And normally I use the guy with the big hammer is crushing and the guy with the sword is slashing. Go figure. So that's the way that I play them. But I really like the Sam Nordberg list. I've used it now, and I don't know. I've actually kind of lost track of how many games that it's done so well. And I lost the first two, and Stam says that you will lose first few games until you figure it out. And I think the reason why is because it's really not clear, and I hate to be critical, it's really clear in the Dash 28 article where to place the foot guard, and there's just a couple of ways you can do it. You can do it like I do, which is mass them sometimes on one flank. And I could have potentially have massed 2 units of foot guards and that Regiment of Fanatics on one flank, which would have been a really choppy flank, especially along with 2 generals on Winged Beasts and a hero. So that's one way to use them. I've also split them at times when I've had favorable terrain in the middle of the table, where I've put the pikeman line, the pikeman checkerboard right in the middle of the table, and put the foot guard on each end. But it tends to work better, I think, when they're all together, because, like I said, you have the 2 units of foot guard and 2 to 3 flying heroes on one flank, and the other person has to react to it. And just an aside to that is, if you can move the units forward fast to support the flyers, sometimes it's better, because then when they're trying to react to the flyers, now they're in charge range of the infantry line. In this case, I was trying to keep my line intact, and I really don't know why, because I really didn't have much of wasn't really scared of too much flanking stuff in this battle, but I kept it intact to keep to keep everything online in a big line like that, and just use the fast stuff to maneuver to the rear and sides. And so really successful use of the Sam Nordberg list. But like I said, if you play that list or read the article, just understand you need to figure out what to do with your foot guard. In the first few games, I put them behind my pikes. That was dumb, because they can't get through. I mean, if one unit of pikes hold, which is what they're supposed to do, they just get slaughtered. So, I mean, there's a couple of games I got beat up by units that had flanked my line, and I couldn't get them turned because they were so cramped up. So now I tend to place them in a position where they can do whatever they want to do. And so I think it's been a lot better. As far as Craigslist, I hate to say that, Craigslist. Mr. Borneman's list. I don't really mind the list. I just think it needs something to combat fast stuff. I don't know what that is. It could be just a hero on a horse type thing. I don't know. I don't even know if that's available in the Salamander army. It could be a flyer, another flyer of some sort. It could be those. I mean, he usually has units of flyers in his list, and so you have to respect those, because I mean, they charge you, they'll kill you. So I don't know what it needs. I mean, as far as just straight up fighting, grinding list, it works just fine. But if it starts to get flanked by flyers and fast stuff, then I think it has issues. And I think that might be the problem with the list is perhaps maybe what I would have done in retrospect if I were him is to mass it on one side of the table a little bit more, and then put Artakel and the Phoenix on the end to defend that flank as much as possible. If that's all you have, that's what you got to use. So that was my only thought to it. If his tyrants would have done their job, though, it would have been brutal, and I knew it, and that's why I was just that's why I got such a glee out of using the crystal pendant on that one unit to slow it down and eventually kill it. So it was absolutely worth 50 points. But in a tournament game where you got to play, 5 to 6 games, I don't think the crystal pendant would be, especially when you use open list. Everybody knows where it's at. They'll target him. They'll kill him. It's a waste of 50 points compared to in a game like this where we had closed list and could take advantage of it.